Good evening, everyone. So today we are going to discuss the topics of current affair from history as well as international relations. है ना? So first we'll see what are the important topics that are there in the news last week. So the topics from history like birth anniversary of Veer Savarkar. Now this is something which is related to your modern history. Fine, this is something related to your modern history. Then another topic, failure of UN NPT review conference, nuclear non-proliferation treaty. Now this is something related to international relations, है ना? International relation. Then NATO to strengthen defense of eastern flank. Now this topic is related again your IR, clear, and it is important more for your prelims examination. Okay, this is important for your prelims examination. Fine. Then next, India China 35th WMCC meeting. Now this is again it is related to border security as well as international relation. And then last important topic, crisis in Cuba. So we are going to discuss the location of Cuba, and then what kind of crisis in Cuba region. So we are going to discuss these important topics. Okay. So let's begin with the first topic, that is failure of UN NPT review conference. So what happened recently? है ना? क्या हुआ अभी? So United Nations conference reviewing the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, they failed to produce a final agreement. Yes, they failed to produce a final agreement. Why? Because of major clash between United States as well as Iran over Iran's nuclear program. Clear? So they were unable to produce or any final agreement. Why? Because there was a clash between US and Iran over Iran's nuclear program. ठीक है? The draft of final document included which says that ईरान, अब इस ड्राफ्ट में क्या था जिस पर डिस्कशन हुआ, उसमें यह लिखा हुआ था दैट ईरान कैन नेवर सीक, डेवलप और एक्वायर न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स. ईरान ने क्या किया? ईरान रिजेक्टेड दिस. दैट इज व्हाई कॉन्फ्रेंस was ended without consensus. ये याद रखिएगा. तो ये कॉन्फ्रेंस क्या हो गई? This was ended without consensus. Now, why is this a big deal? सबसे पहली चीज तो हमें ये समझना होगा, why is this a big deal? See, NPT जो है, NPT works mainly through consensus. Remember this thing. NPT, it works through consensus. ठीक है? It mainly works through consensus. That means all countries should agree on final document. है ना? Consensus का मतलब क्या है? हर कंट्री को अग्री करना होगा. All countries should agree on final document. ठीक है ना? अब कॉन्सेंसस में क्या होता है? इफ इवन वन कंट्री डिसएग्रीज, है ना, कॉन्फ्रेंस क्या हो जाएगी? कोलैप्स कर जाएगी. समझ में आ रहा है? एंड रिमेंबर दिस थिंग, दिस इज नॉट द फर्स्ट टाइम, दिस इज द थर्ड कॉन्जिक्यूटिव फेलियर. इट इज कंसीडर्ड एज थर्ड कॉन्जिक्यूटिव फेलियर. फाइन, ये थर्ड कॉन्जिक्यूटिव फेलियर है ना, फॉर एनपीटी रिव्यू कॉन्फ्रेंस. ठीक है? प्रीवियस फेलियर्स कौन कौन से थे? नाउ वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दी प्रीवियस फेलियर्स. एज यू कैन सी दैट August 2022 review conference was also failed. Why? The reason was Russia blocked the agreement. क्यों? Because the document referred to its control and military activities around Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Zaporizhia nuclear power plant during the यूक्रेन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. तो तब भी ये कॉन्फ्रेंस क्या हो गई थी? फेल कर गई थी, है ना. नाउ सो 2022 it was failed because of Russia-Ukraine issue. 2026, it was failed because of US-Iran nuclear dispute. This is the main reason. Now, what is US-Iran dispute? Now, first we need to understand US-Iran dispute क्या है. ऐसा, just try to imagine that two students, they are blaming each other during दी स्कूल इंस्पेक्शन. दो स्टूडेंट्स हैं और वो स्कूल इंस्पेक्शन के दौरान वो क्या कर रहे हैं, एक दूसरे को ब्लेम कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. व्हाट इज द यूएस पोजीशन? यूएस क्या कर रहा है? यूएस एक्चुअली एक्यूजिंग ईरान दैट ईरान इज वायलेटिंग एनपीटी ऑब्लिगेशन. ईरान violates NPT obligation, and Iran is also limiting access of inspectors from IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. Clear? After the military strikes on Iran, ईरान ने क्या किया कि अब IAEA के जो इंस्पेक्टर है हमारे यहाँ इंस्पेक्ट नहीं कर सकते. This actually created suspicion about its nuclear activities. ठीक है. Now these inspectors belong to whom? International Atomic Energy Agency. Clear? So these inspectors, we can call them as nuclear referee. है ना? They are like nuclear referee. Now what is their job? Their job is to inspect nuclear facilities. है ना? To inspect nuclear facilities. Fine. Second important thing, they ensure that peaceful use of nuclear energy. Clear? ये भी इंश्योर करते हैं that there should be peaceful use of nuclear energy, and they also check whether these countries they are secretly making bombs or not. है ना? Whether any country they are making secretly nuclear bombs or not. Now, based on that, what is the Iran's position? Iran का क्या कहना है? Iran argued that why only targeting us? है ना? Iran wanted that this document should also condemn US military strikes on Iran, Israeli air strikes also, and also attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities. ईरान ने कहा कि जब ये इस डॉक्यूमेंट में इंक्लूड किया जाएगा तब हम अग्री करेंगे. ईरान sees these strikes as violation of international law. So that is why US and Iran they refuse to compromise on this document. Now what is the result of this? The result is, or outcome is, no final agreement. Fine. No final agreement. Clear? Now, what did UN say? है ना? अब UN ने इस पर क्या कहा? United Nations Secretary General, he actually warned that nuclear dangers are increasing now. Global tensions are rising and diplomacy and negotiations are urgently needed on this issue. कहने का मतलब यह है, the world is becoming more dangerous. Countries, they should talk each other, they should not escalate the issue. समझ में आ रहा है? ठीक है. Now, what is NPT? है ना? What is NPT? Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. See, the Treaty on Nuclear Non-Proliferation was approved by United Nations General Assembly on 12th June 1968 and it came into force on 5th March 1970. Clear? ठीक है. तो एनपीटी को इस तरीके से समझ लो, इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ ग्लोबल न्यूक्लियर रूल बुक. इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ ग्लोबल न्यूक्लियर रूल बुक. Fine. It is a kind of global nuclear rule book. Now it has three pillars. As you can see here, it is the only multilateral treaty that seeks to prevent spread of nuclear weapons, promote peaceful use of nuclear energy, and advance global nuclear disarmament. So three pillars. Clear? First, spread of nuclear weapons. So this treaty says that no spread of nuclear weapons. That means countries without nuclear bombs, they agree that we will not build nuclear weapons in future. है ना? ठीक है. Second, it says that peaceful use of nuclear energy. Now, under peaceful use of nuclear energy, countries, they may still use nuclear technology. For what purpose? For electricity, for medicine. They can use nuclear energy for electricity, for medical purpose, and also for scientific research. Scientific research for these things. But they should not use nuclear energy for bombs. Clear? For example, knife, सभी जानते होंगे, knife is also used in surgery and knife also used in violence. अब ये आपको डिसाइड करना है. समझ में आ रहा है? So, similarly, nuclear energy used for bombs also as well as for peaceful purpose also. Clear? Nuclear energy is allowed. Nuclear weapons restricted under this. Clear? Then third important thing is advanced global nuclear disarmament. Nuclear disarmament. Now countries, now what about those countries who are already having nuclear weapons? They actually promise that we will look forward towards reducing the nuclear weapon, but this is very slow. Superpowers ने ऐसा किया ही नहीं. Clear? So these were the things. Now that how many members are there total? How many members are there? Total 191 members. Fine. Total 191 members in NPT. 191 members. That is why this treaty is considered as widely accepted treaties in the world. है ना? This is widely accepted treaty. Fine. Now, who are the officially recognized nuclear weapon states? अब कौन से nuclear weapon states हैं? NPT recognize only those countries that had nuclear weapons before 1st January 1967. उन countries जिन्होंने those who have created nuclear weapons before 1st January 1967. And there are 5 states. है ना? So officially 5 countries are there. US, Russia, UK, France and China. Clear? That means only the old bomb owners, they are officially recognized. Clear? This is what exactly many countries criticize about this treaty. है ना? This is the main critic point here. Now, why NPT is considered as discriminatory in nature? There is a controversy. Treaty effectively says that 5 countries can legally possess nuclear weapons. 5 countries can legally possess, but other countries, they cannot acquire them. So many countries, they actually ask if nuclear weapons are dangerous. Agar nuclear weapons dangerous hain, then why are some countries allowed to keep them? है ना? Why are some countries allowed to keep them? This is also a question. This is the main criticism related to or attached to nuclear proliferation treaty debate. Fine? ठीक है. Now what is the position of India? This is very important. Clear? India has never signed NPT. Why? Because India believes that this treaty is discriminatory, unequal and unfair between the nuclear and non-nuclear states. And that is true also. India का argument क्या है? Disarmament rule should apply equally to everyone. Okay, it should apply equally to everyone. है ना? So, instead India supports what? India supports universal nuclear disarmaments. India supports universal nuclear disarmament. Fine. So India supports this thing. Clear? Which means all countries should be included, equal rule should be there, and there should be verifiable reduction of nuclear weapons. Clear? Now, what is India's nuclear doctrine? है ना. इंडियाज न्यूक्लियर डॉक्ट्रिन क्या है? इंडिया फॉलो नो फर्स्ट यूज, नो first use policy, fine. No first use policy. That means India will not use nuclear weapon first, but if any country attacks on India with nuclear weapon, then India reserves the right to retaliate with nuclear weapons. समझ में आ रहा है ना? So this is the policy of India, fine. Now we'll practice some question based on this. So let's practice some questions. With reference to Treaty on Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, consider the following statement. First, NPT recognizes as nuclear weapon state only those countries that had manufactured and exploded nuclear weapons before 1st January 1967. This is correct. Then the treaty completely prohibits the use of nuclear technology even for civilian and peaceful purposes. No, this is wrong. Treaty says that nuclear energy can be used for civilian and peaceful purposes. So this statement is wrong. Third, compliance with the treaty obligation is monitored by International Atomic Energy Agency. This is correct. Nuclear inspectors will be sent. They will check everything. India is a signatory of NPT. No, India has not signed this treaty. Fine. So how many statements are correct? 1 and 3. Question is asking what? Correct statement. Option A is the answer. Fine. So this is important. Clear? Now, next question. The repeated failure of NPT review conferences is often linked to the nature of review mechanism in itself. In this context, consider the following statement. First, adoption of a final document at NPT review conference generally requires consensus among participating state. This is correct. Consensus नहीं था तभी ये fail हुआ, है ना? Second, 2022 NPT review conference failed due to disagreement over references concerning the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. This is also correct. Third, the recent review conference collapsed solely because non-nuclear weapon states, they demanded immediate and time-bound disarmament. No, it was related to US-Iran clash. है ना? So this statement is wrong. Again, question is asking correct statement. So option B, 1 and 2. Fine. Okay. Now next topic. Now next topic is related to NATO. है ना? Now we'll talk about NATO. Clear? Now first of all, what is the topic? NATO to strengthen defense of eastern flanks. ठीक है? Why is NATO in news? है ना? So try to understand that recently NATO decided to strengthen its eastern border. Why eastern border? First of all, it is connected with Russia, near to Russia, है ना? Eastern border or eastern flank because growing tensions with Russia, ठीक है? Which means NATO wants to be better prepared. इससे क्या NATO चाहता है कि हम prepare रहें, है ना? And faster in defending countries located near Russia, especially कौन सा region है? Baltic region. Fine? Okay. Now, what exactly NATO has decided? Now we need to understand what exactly NATO has decided. So earlier, NATO troops stationed in Baltic countries, clear, and northern Poland, they were actually controlled by one command headquarters. पहले जो Baltic countries में NATO station troops होते थे northern Poland में, they were actually controlled by one common headquarter. But now, है ना, NATO is actually creating an extra military command zone. एक और आप कह सकते हैं हेडक्वार्टर बनाया जा रहा है, एक और मिलिट्री कमांड जोन बनाया जा रहा है. क्लियर? एंड दैट इज जर्मन नेदरलैंड कॉर्प्स. जर्मन नेदरलैंड कॉर्प्स, दे विल कमांड नेटो ट्रूप्स इन एस्टोनिया. जर्मन नेदरलैंड कॉर्प्स ये क्या करेंगे? दे विल कमांड ट्रूप्स इन एस्टोनिया एंड लैटविया ड्यूरिंग वॉर लाइक सिचुएशन. समझ में आ रहा है? नाउ द थिंग हियर इज व्हाई इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट, ये इतना इंपॉर्टेंट क्यों है समझो। मान लीजिए पहले स्कूल में एक ही प्रिंसिपल था एंड वन प्रिंसिपल हैड टू मैनेज मेनी बिल्डिंग्स, सो डिसीजन मेकिंग पावर जो थी इट वाज वेरी स्लो, क्लियर, रेस्पॉन्स वाज वेरी स्लो, बट नाउ अनदर प्रिंसिपल इज एडेड इन दैट स्कूल, है ना, तो अब इससे क्या होगा, मैनेजमेंट बिकम्स क्विकर, मोर एफिशिएंट मैनेजमेंट विल बी देयर, फाइन। So similarly NATO also believes in faster decision making, better troop coordination, more military resources near Russia, stronger defense of Eastern Europe, these things are there. Now what is German Netherland Corps? अब ये जर्मन नेदरलैंड कॉर्प्स क्या है ना, इट इज अ मल्टीनेशनल मिलिट्री कमांड यूनिट, है ना, इट इज अ मल्टीनेशनल मिलिट्री कमांड यूनिट ऑफ नेटो, ठीक है। हेडक्वार्टर कहां पर है, म्यूंस्टर इन जर्मनी, इट इंक्लूड्स सोल्जर्स एंड ऑफिसर्स फ्रॉम सेवरल नेटो कंट्रीज एंड इट विल बिकम अ टैक्टिकल हेडक्वार्टर फॉर विच कंट्री, एस्टोनिया, आप देख सकते हैं, इट विल बिकम टैक्टिकल हेडक्वार्टर फॉर एस्टोनिया एंड विच रीजन, लैटविया, fine, around mid 2026. Now when we say tactical headquarter, है ना, so what is the meaning of tactical headquarter, इसका मतलब क्या है tactical headquarter का, tactical headquarter you can say it is like a military control room, it will be like a military control room, ठीक है। if it is like a military control room, they can give battlefield instruction, okay, they can also coordinate with troops, then they can also manage the defense operation and they also ensure quick responses during the conflict, fine। so NATO is not merely adding the soldiers, है ना, it is actually improving their command system, fine, ठीक है। now What is NATO's ईस्टर्न फ्लैंक, अब नेटो ईस्टर्न फ्लैंक क्या है ना, ईस्टर्न फ्लैंक का मतलब क्या है, इट मींस नेटो कंट्रीज लोकेटेड ईस्टर्न साइड और ईस्टर्न यूरोप, आप कह सकते हैं, है ना, नेटो कंट्रीज located on the eastern side of Europe, है ना, eastern side of Europe, ठीक है, eastern side of Europe, which means they are close to Russia and they are also close to Belarus, है ना, which means they are close to Russia and Belarus, आप देख सकते हैं मैप में, clear, this region close to Russia and Belarus, clear, ठीक है। This means these countries are strategically sensitive, these are strategically sensitive, fine, ठीक है। if these countries are strategically sensitive, it main concern or we can say here main countries which includes एस्टोनिया, लैटविया, लिथुनिया, ये सारे मेन कंट्रीज हुए, स्ट्रेटेजिक कंट्रीज हुए, पोलैंड इज ऑल्सो देयर एंड देन अदर ईस्टर्न यूरोपियन नेशंस हु आर नेटो मेंबर्स, क्लियर, ठीक है। नाउ व्हाई दीज रीजन्स आर इंपॉर्टेंट, दीज रीजन्स गेन्ड इंपॉर्टेंस ड्यू टू रशिया यूक्रेन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, क्लियर, दे गेन्ड इंपॉर्टेंस ड्यू टू रशिया यूक्रेन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट, नाउ वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड द बाल्टिक रीजन। Now, what do you understand by this Baltic region? Now, what is Baltic region? The area around Baltic Sea, as you can see here. Clear? So, area around Baltic Sea is called as Baltic region. है ना? Area around Baltic Sea is called as Baltic region, where in northern Europe. Clear? So mainly it includes Baltic states like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. It includes whom? It includes mainly Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. Clear? Now, why they are important? So first we need to understand, why these countries are important. What is the main reason? First, as you can see here, they are very close to Russia. Very close to Russia and Belarus. They are close to Russia and Belarus. They are member of both. These countries are members of both. Both means NATO as well as European Union. They are members of both. Clear? That is why this location, this front line location actually makes them security zone. So this is like a kind of security zone. Fine. Now, what is NATO? NATO का मतलब क्या है? NATO means North Atlantic Treaty Organization. North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Fine. NATO means North Atlantic Treaty Organization. When it was established? It was established in 1949. Fine. Through which treaty? Through North Atlantic Treaty. Through North Atlantic Treaty. So what was the background? Because after Second World War, European countries, they feared another major war and Soviet Union expansion. Clear? They were fearing that another major war can take place with Soviet Union. That is why NATO was created. So NATO is an example. It is an example of what? Example of collective security. Fine. Example of collective security. Now, headquarters कहां पर है? Headquarters are in Brussels, Belgium. Headquarters कहां पर है? Brussels, Belgium में. Clear? That is the NATO's main office. Now, if you see membership, how many countries are members? So there are total 32. 32 members are there. Clear? Who is the newest member? Sweden joined in 2024. ये याद रखिएगा, है ना? Sweden joined in 2024. Fine? Okay. Now, who can join NATO? So, under Article 10, any European country can join. But if they support NATO principles, second, they can contribute to North Atlantic security. So, membership is not automatic. Membership requires these two things. Clear? Now, what is the most important article? Article 5. This is considered as NATO's heart and soul. Article 5 क्या कहता है? Attack on one NATO member will be considered as attack on all NATO members. Means if a NATO country is attacked, other members are expected to defend, to help it. है ना? This is called as collective defense. Clear? This is called as collective defense. ये याद रखिएगा, है ना? तो it is also considered as deterrence. Clear? It is also considered as NATO's deterrence strategy. Clear? Now, why is NATO worried about Russia? Because Russia shares proximity with many eastern NATO states. Second, the Russia-Ukraine war increased security fears in Europe. Third, NATO wants to ensure countries near Russia, they should feel protected. ऐसा ना हो कि उनमें एक insecurity or fear हो कि Russia कभी भी invade कर सकता है. So this new command which they have created, it is basically NATO's and it is like we are improving our defense system and will respond faster if the conflict spread in Europe. Clear? This is something which is important. Now we'll practice some questions. First question, with reference to recent NATO measures concerning its eastern flank, consider the following statement. First, the German Netherlands Corps headquartered in Brussels, है ना, functions as NATO's permanent political headquarter. ठीक है. Second, under new NATO arrangement, Estonia and Latvia, they are proposed to come under an additional tactical command structure. Okay. NATO troops stationed in the Baltic state and northern Poland, they were already under unified multinational command, है ना, prior to this arrangement. ठीक है. Now the question is asking which is the correct statement. अब इसमें से correct statement कौन सा है? देखो, this is correct. यूनिफाइड मल्टीनेशनल कमांड अभी हमने पढ़ा है, दिस इज ऑल्सो करेक्ट. जर्मन नेदरलैंड कॉर्प्स हेडक्वार्टर इन ब्रसेल्स, दिस इज रॉन्ग. ये तो अभी बना है, समझ में आ रहा है? दिस इज रॉन्ग. सो ऑप्शन बी इज द राइट आंसर. फाइन. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, कंसीडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट रिगार्डिंग द नेटो. आर्टिकल 5 ऑफ NATO mandates automatically military intervention by all member states in case of an attack on any member. They have not used the word automatic, like automatic military intervention. Clear? Though they will attack together, but there is no prescribed thing. So this is wrong. Second, Article 10 permits membership only to European states willing and able to uphold treaty principles and contribute to North Atlantic security. This is correct. Third, all Baltic states are members of both NATO and European Union. Yes, this is also correct. So here 2 and 3, these are correct statement. Fine. Okay. Now next is related to India China 35th WMCC meeting. ठीक है, तो अब हम बात करेंगे WMCC meeting. So what happened recently first of all, है ना? So India China they held 35th WMCC meeting in Beijing region. Clear? बीजिंग में हुई. WMCC का मतलब क्या है? वर्किंग मैकेनिज्म फॉर कंसल्टेशन एंड कोऑर्डिनेशन ऑन इंडिया चाइना बॉर्डर अफेयर्स. व्हेन इट वाज क्रिएटेड इन 2012. फाइन. इसको इस तरीके से समझ सकते हो, इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ डिप्लोमेटिक एंड मिलिट्री कम्युनिकेशन प्लेटफॉर्म बिटवीन इंडिया एंड चाइना, है ना. इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ diplomatic and military communication platform between India and China. Fine. ठीक है. So you can understand these things. This is like a border problem management committee, है ना. ये एक तरीके से आप मान लीजिए, it is like a border problem management committee. What is their job? Its job is to prevent misunderstanding, reduce tensions, maintain peace at the border, then discuss practical issues related to the borders. Fine. ठीक है. But it does not decide the final boundary. Final boundary ये नहीं decide करेंगे. They will actually decide the day-to-day issues. Okay. They help manage the situation until a final solution is found. Clear? That is their thing. Now, what was discussed in the 35th meeting? See, the talks primarily on border delimitation, है ना, border management, mechanism building and cross border. 4 things, है ना. Cooperation between, cross border cooperation between 2 nations. ये इन 4 चीजों पे बात हुई है ना. Border delimitation. What is the meaning of border delimitation? It means where exactly boundary is, where exactly is the border, है ना. Where exactly is the border between India and China. Fine. That means they are trying to draw and agreeing on the boundary line. Clear? Just try to understand, it is a kind of family issue that this land is mine and another is saying no, it is mine. Clear? So until both agree, है ना, and draw the line on a map, dispute will continue. समझ में आ रहा है? That is why border delimitation. So India and China, they are trying to settle this issue. Fine. ठीक है. Second क्या है? Border management. Border management means how to avoid conflicts. It is related to how to avoid conflict. ठीक है. Now how to avoid conflict? Even if the border is disputed, soldiers still stand there, है ना? So both the countries, they discuss on patrolling rules so that they should avoid clashes, है ना? And there is a need for communication between the armies. समझ में आ रहा है ना? So that is why it is called as border management. Clear? ठीक है. Third is mechanism building. Mechanism building का मतलब क्या होता है? It means creating a system for regular communication. Creating a system for regular communication. Fine. That is called as mechanism building, like hotlines, military talks, diplomatic meetings, etc. Clear? देखो, साइलेंस से क्या होता है? साइलेंस ऑलवेज इंक्रीजेस सस्पिक्शन, है ना? एंड लास्ट इज क्रॉस बॉर्डर कोऑपरेशन. क्रॉस बॉर्डर कोऑपरेशन मींस, सी कोऑपरेशन इश्यूज अफेक्ट बोथ द कंट्रीज. क्रॉस बॉर्डर कोऑपरेशन कौन कौन से एरियाज हैं? रिवर्स, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ब्रह्मपुत्र, सतलज रिवर, है ना? देन एनवायरमेंट, disasters, etc. Clear? So border trade is also important. Clear? So these things are important here, है ना? Then comes peace along the LAC, है ना? Both countries, they say that they are satisfied with the progress maintaining peace along LAC. But what is LAC? ये तो पता होना चाहिए लोगों को. LAC क्या है? Line of actual control, and it is not the officially agreed international border. It is a kind of disputed border or de facto practice boundary which actually separate areas controlled by India and China after 1962 India-China war, है ना? So India says the actual length of LAC is 3,488 kilometer. China says 2,000 kilometer. So why there is difference? Because both countries perceive the alignment differently. Both countries perceive border areas differently. Fine. That is why this disagreement causes the frictions. Clear? ठीक है. Now what are the Indian states that share borders with China? So those Indian states which actually shares border with China, first is Ladakh, है ना? Second, Himachal Pradesh. Third, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. Ladakh is having the border of 1,597 kilometers, Himachal Pradesh 200, Uttarakhand 345, then Sikkim 220 kilometers, and then Arunachal Pradesh 1,126. This is the correct chronology. Like you can start from west, Ladakh, then Himachal, then Uttarakhand, then Sikkim, and then east Arunachal Pradesh. Fine. This is important. Clear? Now next is, why is peace and tranquility repeatedly mentioned? Because this is very important in India-China relations, because if there is no peace at the border, no normal relations elsewhere also. Clear? If soldiers clash at the border, trade is going to suffer. Second, political trust जो है वो भी गिर जाएगा. Political trust also falls. Then diplomacy becomes difficult. In this scenario, you will see that both countries, they said peace is necessary for normalizing bilateral relations. Clear? And this has become very important after Galwan Valley clash. समझ में आ रहा है? Galwan Valley clash के बाद ये काफी ज्यादा important हो गया. Now, transboundary rivers mechanism. Why did India raise this issue? See, this is the crucial point raised by Indian delegation, was pressing need for early meeting on expert level mechanism on transborder rivers. Clear? It has high strategic and ecological importance also, because there are many rivers which originate in Tibet, which is now controlled by China, है ना. So बहुत सारे ऐसे rivers हैं, for example Satluj and Brahmaputra. Fine. Okay. So there are many rivers which actually originates in Tibet, but Tibet is controlled by China only, and they flow into India. ठीक है. Like Brahmaputra and Satluj, है ना. ठीक. तो इंडिया ने कहा कि अर्ली मीटिंग करनी पड़ेगी एक्सपर्ट लेवल मैकेनिज्म की, बिकॉज दिस इज द सीरियस इशू. व्हाई दिस इज द सीरियस इशू? बिकॉज हियर द अपस्ट्रीम ऑफ रिवर इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय चाइना, है ना. द अपस्ट्रीम this is controlled by China, fine, and it can affect India, fine, it can affect India, है ना. पॉसिबल कंसर्न क्या है? वाटर फ्लो का कंसर्न है, फ्लड वार्निंग, देन हाइड्रो पावर प्रोजेक्ट्स का इशू आ सकता है. क्लियर? इकोलॉजिकल इम्पैक्ट, डेटा शेयरिंग इशू, दीज थिंग्स आर देयर. So a person who is living in the upstream has enormous influence over the people living in downstream. Fine. That is why river cooperation is both environmental as well as strategic issue. River cooperation जो है, ये याद रखिएगा, river cooperation is both environmental and strategic issue. Fine. Strategic issue. Now special representative talks, है ना. This is another important mechanism, है ना. Now what is special representative talks? These are high level negotiation on final boundary dispute. Fine. So unlike WMCC, it manages डे टू डे बॉर्डर इश्यूज. WMCC क्या करता है? अभी मैंने बताया था, इट मैनेज डे टू डे बॉर्डर इश्यूज. SR टॉक्स, स्पेशल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव टॉक्स, दे वर्क टुवर्ड्स पॉलिटिकल सेटलमेंट ऑफ द बाउंड्री. क्लियर? सो इंडिया चाइना agreed to prepare for 25th round of special representative talks, which is going to be hosted in China. Clear? So WMCC, it is like problem management, and special representative talk is like problem solving in nature. Now who guards India-China border? So main force is ITBP, Indo-Tibetan Border Police. What is their role? Border surveillance, patrolling, supporting the army, and high altitude border security. Clear? That is why it is important for your examination. Clear? Now next, as you can see here, western border Ladakh region, है ना, Aksai Chin. Middle border Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and eastern Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. Fine. So these are some important things. Now next important topic, birth anniversary of Veer Savarkar. Recently the Prime Minister remembered Veer Savarkar on his birth anniversary and paid tribute to his courage, patriotism, and contribution to social reform. Now who was Veer Savarkar? Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. He was a revolutionary nationalist, writer, political thinker, as well as social reformer. He was born on 28th May 1883. Birthplace क्या है? Bhagor village in Nasik district, Maharashtra. Clear? And he died on 26th February 1966 in Mumbai. That means he lived during a time when India was under the British rule, and he is known for his bold and uncompromising ideas. Clear? ठीक है. Now first we need to understand about the young Savarkar when this fire begins. See, Savarkar was politically active from the young age. In 1899 he created one organization called as Mitra Mela. 1899 he created one organization called as Mitra Mela. Yes, Mitra Mela. Now he started this organization. Clear? What was the goal of this organization? To build patriotism and revolutionary spirit. Goal क्या था? To build patriotism and revolutionary spirit among youth. Fine, that is their goal, है ना? It is like a secret police youth group, है ना? Later this organization Mitra Mela transformed into Abhinav Bharat Society 1904. ठीक है? Abhinav Bharat Society, it was more organized and revolutionary in nature, inspired by European secret revolutionary groups. Members of this society used to discuss the armed resistance and independence. So for Savarkar, freedom was not something to request. It has to be achieved through struggle. Clear? है ना? Then उसके बाद वो जाते हैं लंदन. His London phase in 1906, Savarkar went to London for higher studies, but politics also followed him. So he established Free India Society in 1906 in London. Purpose क्या था? Unite Indian students at abroad, then spread nationalist and revolutionary ideas, encourage resistance against the British rule. So he was, remember this thing, so he was also closely connected with India House. Yes, he was connected with, है ना, he was connected with India House. अब ये India House क्या था? This is another organization. Clear? Now, India House is founded by Shyamji Krishna Verma. It was founded by Shyamji Krishna Verma. ठीक है? In London. Fine. Just try to understand, this India House was like a political hostel, discussion center, revolutionary headquarter of Indians in London. Clear? So many revolutionaries used to meet and debate here. Clear? Now his revolutionary ideas and activities, Savarkar believed British power could not be removed only through petitions. He supported revolutionary nationalism, he supported armed resistance, guerrilla style method against the colonial rules. And he was also linked in various accounts like revolutionary network से जुड़े हुए थे, discussions on bomb making. He support for revolutionaries facing British prosecution. So he was also associated with the case of Madan Lal Dhingra. Clear? Madan Lal Dhingra was the person who assassinated one of the British official, Curzon Willie, in London. And then Madan Lal Dhingra was hanged there. Okay? So assassinated British official in London, and this made Savarkar one of the most controversial and closely watched revolutionaries, fine, of his time. Okay, that is the relevance. Apart from this, Savarkar was also a good writer. He did not fight only with action. He also fought with ideas. He wrote a book on revolt of 1857 as Indian War of Independence. At a time when British historians, they called revolt of 1857 merely a mutiny, sepoy mutiny. But Savarkar's view was something different. है ना? He said 1857 was India's first national war for independence. Clear? This interpretation influenced many nationalists. Okay, it influenced many nationalists. Fine. Okay. So next important thing, Hindutva and his political thought. This is another major work. Hindutva, who is Hindu? है ना? He is also known as, this is also known as Essentials of Hindutva. In his work, Savarkar developed the concept of Hindutva, and his idea tried to define a nation, cultural identity, and Hindu civilization. And this book later became highly influential in Indian political thought. Clear? And it is continued to be debated. Clear? Apart from this, Savarkar was also a great social reformer. He also worked for social reform. He opposed untouchability, caste discrimination, and social exclusion. He supported intercaste dining. He supported temple entry for all castes, greater social unity. Clear? उनका मानना यह था, a divided society cannot become a strong nation, है ना? So for V.D. Savarkar, social reform and nationalism, they were connected. Fine. Now we'll practice some questions. With reference to Veer Savarkar, consider the following statement. This organization was the organization founded by Savarkar in London, primarily intended to promote constitutional methods of political reform among Indian students. Political reforms, है ना? This is wrong. It was like to promote the revolutionary spirit among the youth, है ना? Free India society जो थी. Then second, Savarkar's work, Indian War of Independence 1857, interpreted the revolt of 1857 as more than merely a mutiny. This is correct. Then Mitra Mela preceded the formation of Abhinav Bharat Society. Yes, it was created in 1899 and later it transformed into Abhinav Bharat Society in 1904. So here 2 and 3 are correct. The next question, which of the following fairs regarding Veer Savarkar is correctly matched? Mitra Mela originated as patriotic youth organization. It is correct. India House founded by Veer Savarkar in London. India House by Shyamji Krishna Verma. Free India Society by Savarkar. So this is wrong. Hindutva, concerned with question, cultural and national identity. So third is correct. So options are not here. So first and third are correct. Fine. Now the last topic is related to Cuba. Now what happened in Cuba? First of all, recently Cuba is in the news and Cuba is facing economic and energy crisis. Clear? है ना? Because बहुत समय से वहां पे blackouts चल रहे हैं, fuel shortages, protests, and it actually intensified by renewed US sanctions as well as pressure. US ने जो sanctions and pressure लगा दिया. ठीक है? First thing we need to understand, where is Cuba? Caribbean traffic junction. आप देख सकते हैं this location. Clear? Cuba. Fine. So Cuba lies where three major water bodies meet. Three major water bodies, है ना? कौन कौन से three major water bodies हैं? Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean Sea, and third Atlantic Ocean. Cuba lies where three major water bodies meet. है ना? It is like a sea crossroad. It is located here south of Florida, west of Haiti, then north of Jamaica. Clear? This is the relevance of Cuba, and this location makes Cuba extremely important for ship trade as well as military strategy. This is the relevance of Cuba. Fine. ठीक है. Next is, what does Cuba look like? A crocodile shaped island. Yes. See, this is Cuba. See, it looks like crocodile shaped island. है ना? So Cuba is largest island in Caribbean Sea. ठीक है. It is part of Greater Antile Island chain also, and it is long and narrow, and it is compared to crocodile shape also. So its formation is actually linked to ancient tectonic activity. It is related to ancient tectonic activity, that is movement of earth plates over millions of years. Fine. See, Greater Antilles क्या है? Greater Antilles include Cuba, है ना? Then Greater Antilles include Haiti and Dominion Republic also. Greater Antilles याद रखिएगा, it includes Cuba. Fine. It also includes Haiti, Dominion Republic also. Then it also includes Jamaica and Puerto Rico. है ना? It includes Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominion Republic and Puerto Rico. Greater Antilles. Fine. ठीक है. Now with respect to geography, mountains and plains, two Cubas in one. अब ये क्या है two Cubas in one? It is something related to geography. See, first of all, Cuba is not flat. है ना? Cuba is not flat नहीं है. Clear? 1/3 of the area is mountains and hills. Fine. 2/3 area is plain and lowland. Plain and lowland. Mountainous area. Mountainous area includes forest, hills, है ना? it includes forest, hills, higher rainfall. Fine. These things are their biodiversity. Plain areas. This is economic heartland. Economic heartland. Economic heartland means agriculture, sugarcane, tobacco, food crops are there. Clear? So, mountains actually protect nature. Plain areas feeds the economy. Fine? Now we'll talk about wildlife. Cuba's tiny wildlife. Cuba is famous for unique wildlife. Bee hummingbird. Fine? The superstar here is bee hummingbird. It is only found in Cuba. World's smallest bird है ये, है ना? But it is tiny like large insect. Then it can hover and drink nectar like other hummingbirds. Now Cuba also hosts one of the world's smallest frogs. Clear? It has rich tropical forest with endemic species. That is why Cuba is not only politically important, but it is related to ecology also. Ecologically also it is very important. Now, underground wealth. Many people actually think Cuba survives only on tourism, but underground wealth is also there. It is very rich. Major minerals, it include what? It include nickel, cobalt, chromium, copper, gold, iron ore, manganese, silver and tungsten. These minerals are there. Now, why nickel and cobalt? Why these minerals are important? It is important for batteries. It is important for EVs, electric vehicles. है ना? It is important for aerospace also. It is also important for high-tech industries. Fine. So, it is something related to green age and technology. Fine. Now, why is Cuba geopolitically important? It is a watchtower near America. Clear? Its location gives major geopolitical value like ships moving through Gulf of Mexico, then Caribbean Sea, Atlantic routes. Clear? So, this is something which is very important, which means Cuba influences the maritime connectivity, Cuba influences trade routes, naval movement also, as well as regional power politics. That is why it is considered as a watchtower near America. Now, with respect to political system, for why and Cuba often clash. Clear? See, Cuba is the communist state. Cuba क्या है? It is communist state. And US is capitalist. Clear? Communist state means one party socialist political system. It means one party socialist, है ना, political system. Fine. This is the thing. So, strong state role in the economy is there. Fine. So, there are various reasons. Ideological differences हैं between Cuba and US. US sanctions and embargo, Cold War history, strategic concerns near American territory. है ना? Meanwhile, China maintained close ties with Cuba, supporting Cuban sovereignty, opposing extreme external interference, then expanding economic and diplomatic engagement. This is the relevance. Clear? This is the main reason why Cuba is there in the news, and Cuba is actually facing the political as well as economic crisis. So currently, remember this thing, Cuba has faced a deep economic and energy crisis. Long power blackouts are there, fuel shortages, economic stress is there. You know, this is the main reason. So today Cuba is actually facing multiple crises: economic crisis, energy shortage, as well as geopolitical pressure from United States of America as well as China, major powers. This is the relevance of Cuba. I hope this much is clear to all of you. So this is all about these 5 important topics for your current affairs. Understood? So now I am going to wind up this session. Thank you so much.